In the spring of 1905, a bizarre event shook the imperial court at the Jingling Mausoleum of the Eastern Qing tombs. With absolutely no sign of lightning or action, Emperor Kangxi's hall of Longen spontaneously combusted. In an instant, the inferno engulfed the sacred spirit tablets of the emperor himself, along with his 4 empresses and 1 imperial noble consort. Whispers spread throughout the empire. This was an omen that the Qing Dynasty's fate was at its end. But if we rewind the clock over 200 years, you will discover that the seeds of family betrayal and a curse of power were sown the very moment the underground palace was sealed. In our previous episode, we began our journey at the monumental steel pavilion of divine merit and virtue. We traversed the spirit way, a path that bears witness to Emperor Kangxi's legendary achievements, passing through the exquisite dragon and phoenix gate and the sown stone guardians. Together, we marveled at the architectural wonders born from the peak of the Qing Empire's power. But if the altar structures of the Jingling Mausoleum represent the public persona of this great emperor, then from this moment on, as we step across the gate of Longen, we are invited into his private world. Emperor Kangxi was one of the most prolific rulers in Chinese history, fathering a total of 35 sons and 20 daughters. Of all his sons, his deepest affection was once reserved for the second prince and crown prince, Yingren. Yingren was born on June 6, 1674. But his arrival was paid for with his mother's life. On that same day, Kangxi's primary consort, Empress Xiao tragically died from a postpartum hemorrhage at the age of only 22. She was the first master to be interned at the Jingling Mausoleum. Tragedies continued. In 1678, his second empress, Xiao passed away at 25. In 1689, the third occupant of this underground palace, Empress Xiao died at just 30 years old. Distraught by the loss of these 3 young women, Kangxi became convinced that his own fate was too hard, a superstition that he was cursed to bring misfortune to his wives. Consequently, for the next 33 years, until his death in 1722, he never appointed another empress. Feeling a sense of doubt toward the late Empress Xiao Emperor Kangxi designated her infant son Yingren as the crown prince. In 1683, when the news of conquest of Taiwan reached Beijing, Kangxi made a profound political statement. Before the entire court, the emperor read the victory report in Mandarin, then commanded the 9-year-old prince to read it in Manchu. The Longen Hall is the heart of the mausoleum's surface structures. It serves as the primary venue for enshrining the spirit tablets of Emperor Kangxi and his consorts, as well as performing sacred sacrificial rituals. The hall is featuring a majestic double-eave heap and a gable roof covered in Imperial yellow glazed tiles. Inside, this red structure we see here is known as the Nuange, or the warm chamber, the place where the spirit tablets are enshrined daily. The name warm chamber symbolizes providing a warm resting place for the departed souls during the cold winter months. At the center of this pavilion rest the spirit tablets of Emperor Kangxi and his 4 empresses. Which 4 empresses? Didn't I just mention that Kangxi only had 3? As it turns out, the 4th was honored as empress posthumously after Kangxi's death. This was Empress Xiao. She was elevated to this rank because her son, Prince Yongzheng, the 4th son, ascended the throne as the next emperor. The year was 1708. Emperor Kangxi was 54, and his crown prince Yingzheng was 34. Yingzheng had been the heir apparent for his entire 34-year life, and his patience was very thin. Following the martial conditions of the Qing court, Kangxi led his sons on a hunting expedition near the Chengde mountain resort, staying in military tents. The young 18th prince Yingxie fell dangerously ill, while the other brothers offered their sympathies. The crown prince remained cold and indifferent, earning a stern rebuke from his father. But the true breaking point came that night. Under the cover of darkness, Yingzheng was caught creeping toward the emperor's tent, peering inside like a thief. In Imperial China, approaching the monarch's resting place without permission was a capital offense. Fearing an assassination plot, a furious Kangxi deposed Yingzheng the very next day. This seismic event pulled back the curtain on the Battle of the Nine Princes, a brutal struggle for the throne eventually won by the fourth prince Yingzheng, who would become Emperor Yongzheng. Behind the Longen Hall stand the three glazed tile gates, the boundary dividing the ritual grounds from the sacred burial area. Unfortunately, these gates are kept strictly locked. As we discussed in the previous episode, the Jingling Mausoleum was built on low-lying ground prone to waterlogging. In 1952, when the staff of the Eastern Qing tombs attempted to enter the underground palace to recover the remains of Emperor Kangxi and his consorts, they were met with a chilling sight. The floodwaters inside had reached their necks. Forced to retreat, they sealed the stone doors. To this day, the underground palace remains submerged in water, its treasures and history left without effective protection. Now, let's shift our focus back to the political turmoil of the late Kangxi era. Following the Crown Prince Yingzheng's first deposition in 1708, Emperor Kangxi discovered that the eldest prince Yingshi had been secretly practicing sorcery using feng shui curses against the Crown Prince. At the same time, it was rumored that the late Empress Xiao Chengren appeared in the emperor's dreams multiple times, pleading for her son's salvation. A power vacuum emerged, and many officials rallied behind the 8th prince Yingsi as a new heir. After crushing Yingsi's political faction, a softened Kangxi restored Yingzheng as crown prince in 1709. However, the prince remained unrepentant, plotting a new coup with his followers. This led to his final downfall in 1714. The constant betrayal by his sons and the fierce rivalry between the 8th and the 2nd princes took a heavy toll on Kangxi. He suffered a stroke that paralyzed his right hand, forcing him to write with his left as his health rapidly declined. By 1714, the competition for the throne had narrowed down to two men: the 4th Prince Yingzheng, Prince Yong, and his full brother, the 14th Prince Yingti. Their mother was Empress Xiao Gongren, who now rests in the real chamber of the very underground palace. Resting above the underground palace are the massive Baodi burial mound and the Soul Tower and the Square City. Built with a distinct military character, the Soul Tower was essentially designed as a defensive observation post. At its core stands a colossal stone stele with inscriptions declaring that this grand mausoleum belongs to Emperor Kangxi. The mound itself is constructed from sanhetu, a traditional Chinese composite earth. This three-component soil is a meticulous blend of lime, loess, and gravel, with glutinous rice mortar used as a binding agent. This ancient bioconcrete is incredibly dense and durable, engineered not only to seal out rainwater but to prevent tomb robbers from tunneling through from above. During the destructive looting of 1945, the bandits initially tried to dig directly down through the building burial mound. However, the Sanhe proved so impenetrable that their shovels could not even leave a mark. Frustrated, they eventually resorted to using explosives at the entrance to blast open the tomb passage. The underground palace of Jingling Mausoleum is a stark contrast to the lavish tomb of Kangxi's grandson, Emperor Qianlong, where the latter is renowned for its intricate Buddhist carvings. The Jingling vault likely mirrors the minimalist elegance of the Chongling Mausoleum, the final imperial tomb of the Qing Dynasty. Beyond the long silent tomb passage, the structure is divided into three sections: the fore, the middle, and the real house. In the heart of the real chamber, Emperor Kangxi's coffin rests at the very center. Surrounding him are his four empresses, Empress Xiao Chengren and Empress Xiao Yiren on the east, with Empress Xiao Zhaoren and Empress Xiao Gongren, Yongzheng's mother, on the west. However, there is a sixth occupant, Imperial noble consort Jingming, whose coffin is positioned at the far front left. Why is the consort buried alongside the emperor and his empresses, breaking centuries of royal protocol? To find the answer, we must return to the treacherous political landscape of the late Kangxi era. During the final 6 years of the Kangxi Emperor's life, his fourth son Yongzheng remained in Beijing, assisting the emperor with sacrificial rites and involving himself in key state affairs. Meanwhile, the 14th son Yingti was dispatched to the battlefields of Qinghai, commanding the imperial armies in a decisive campaign against the Mongolian rebels. It was widely believed among court officials that Yingti, bolstered by his immense military power, was the intended successor to the throne. In December 1722, the Kangxi Emperor passed away suddenly, leaving the empire without a formally designated heir. From his position within the capital, Yongzheng moved with decisive speed, utilizing the vast network of military officers loyal to the 13th Prince Yingxiang. He seized control of Beijing and enforced a strict 6-day military lockdown. With the unwavering support of Yingxiang and the Beijing grandsons, Yongzheng successfully ascended the throne as the Yongzheng Emperor. To show his profound gratitude for Yingxiang's unwavering support, the Yongzheng Emperor broke centuries of imperial protocol by inviting imperial noble consort Jingming, Yingxiang's mother, who had already been interned in the Jingling concubine cemetery since 1699, to be moved and ceremonially re-interned within the main underground palace of the Jingling Mausoleum. The footage you are seeing now was filmed at the Jingling concubine cemetery. It was from this very location that the consort's remains were removed to join the emperor. According to the regulations of Qing Dynasty, a curved right wall circles the burial mound of the emperor and his empresses. This is known as the Luoquan Wall, literally the circular wall. Standing here, we can honestly judge the current conservation state of this UNESCO World Heritage site. We are seeing widespread falling of roof tiles and the severe peeling of the red paint across the wall's surface. I felt so strongly about this that I personally called the authorities to lodge a formal complaint. We can only hope that the ongoing 2025 to 2026 reservation will finally restore this ancient imperial mausoleum. On March 24, 1905, a bizarre fire suddenly broke out from the eaves of the Longen Hall. With no lightning or sign of action, the flames consumed the entire structure in an instant. Why did this fire start? Many Chinese at the time believed it was a direct warning from the ancestors, a manifestation of Kangxi's own despair over his crumbling empire. Their suspicions proved prophetic. Just 7 years later, in 1912, the Qing Dynasty collapsed entirely. As we wander around the Jingling Mausoleum, we can still discover scattered stone clamp bases. These relics are the original foundations of the Longen Hall from over 300 years ago, dating back to the height of Emperor Kangxi's reign. The structure standing before us today is actually a reconstruction built after the mysterious fire of 1905. To the trained eye, it is clear that this version lacks the true brilliance and the soul-stirring magnificence of the empire at its peak. In the long tapestry of Chinese history, perhaps the no-monarch admired Emperor Kangxi more than his grandson, the Qianlong Emperor. In his youth, Qianlong was raised within the palace under the watchful care of two of Kangxi's consorts, Imperial noble consort Hui and Imperial noble consort Yi. Deeply moved by the diet of upbringing, he owned these two grandmothers. Qianlong later commissioned a magnificent and unique cemetery specifically for them. In our next episode, we will step into this extraordinary Jingling Imperial Noble Consort Garden Cemetery and explore how this very site would eventually influence the destiny of China's most powerful female dictator, Empress daughter Cixi. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned.